Undoubtedly, tonight's species is one of my all-time favorites. They like to jump, they can be caught in shallow water and have powerful runs. Most people don't even know there's a variety of species here in Florida. Tonight we're talking snook here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
This is the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, and Rick, this is really going to be an awesome show because I don't know one Floridian who doesn't get excited about hooking up to a good old snook.
You're absolutely right, Bree. And as I said at the top of the show,
Yes.
there's a variety of different snooks. There's the fat snook, there's a tarpon snook, and the common snook. What else, Dave?
Sword spine.
Sword spine snook.
look at
So
that.
guess what? 4 different species, and you didn't know it.
You're so smart.
I know.
Well,
that's
look at
why I'm
our
the boss.
impeccable studio audience tonight to prove that snook is one of the favorites amongst Floridians.
Absolutely, and look how smart they are.
They are super smart.
Because they came on a rainy night.
Thanks to you. And I know for a fact Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench isn't opposed to a good old snook bite, are you, Dave?
Oh, no, I'm not opposed to them. I just hadn't been able to catch one in about a month. I've been
Oh,
flogging the water with Kwanzaa. We're trying to catch them all the time, and I've just been striking out.
That's okay.
But we're going to talk about them
We'll
anyway.
help you with that today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Rick, why do you think snook is such a beloved species in Florida?
Well, because Bree, you know, first off, you can take your bass tackle and catch them. They can be found in shallow water, like I said. They can be found in the inlets. You can stand on a jetty. You can stand on a pier, paddle boards, you name it. You know, you can catch them in all different places.
Yep.
And the variety of sizes, it never disappoints you.
It's always fun.
That's why people like them so much. And they also are very, very good to eat.
Yes, they are. All right, well, getting this Snook Fest started is Captain Ronnie Houston in the Bell's Southwest region. So, Ronnie, tell us what you know.
Well, like always, pleasure starting off the show. You know, snook can be caught both inshore and offshore, but primarily they're targeted on the inshore side all through the region. Now, you can target beaches, passes, bridges, intercoastal docks and seawalls, mangrove shorelines, outer Gulf Islands on the southern end, and backcountry bays, just to name of the few target areas. Now, generally, early spring through fall can be the best time. Wintertime, they can still be caught, but you're going to have to learn how to slow down and downsize. Now, the best baits include live pilchards, pinfish, mullet, herring, shrimp, and plenty of artificials will catch them. Topwater walk-the-dog lures, gold and silver spoons, flies, bucktails, lip plugs, and, of course, soft plastics 3 to 5 inch. As for instance, the new Bass Assassin Salty Snack has impressed me with the profile, and it's been great, and it's a new bait that's been out. But you know what? Wintertime, especially with cold fronts, that's going to make a big difference. Before and after, guys, barometric pressure will definitely dictate that bite. And I got a prime picture of a gentleman up in the northern end of the region. There's Wes with a nice 40-inch snook caught just about a month ago. So this time of year is really a good time to catch these fish. Now, still on the inshore side, we're going to talk about the redfish. Coon Key to Indian Key, outer Gulf Islands is what you want to target. Now, the moderate weather, so you can fish them. And also, when you find them, guys, right now, they're going to be in numbers. Now, the better tides have been at the top of the high, especially the islands that have abundance of oysters and black hard bottom. Baits of choice right now will be live pilchards, finger mullet, gold spoons, 3 to 4 inch soft plastics on a jig head. But I can tell you for sure bite, once you find them, simply knock a rig a half-ounce weight with cut mullet or ladyfish. Once you find one, you should find a group of them, so don't move on and keep working the area.
Hey, Ronnie, before we go offshore, we want to take a look at the navionics from your region. Now, the one thing that's cool about this is the very top of your region. It's the Peace River right there in downtown Punta Gorda. Now, guys, one of the things that I see here is this is what it typically looks like in your plotter when you get it, you know, stock unit. Now, if we take a look at the next chart as we load in the sonar soundings, look at how all the details come in from where people have added and edits in regards to being able to go on and add those contours, and you can record those contours at 1 foot increments. Now, look at the third map. You can actually see how it really looks with the satellite overlay. And as you can see, the contours are all loaded in there. They're the deeper areas, so they're in white, just like we have in the river itself. All right, Ronnie, let's go offshore in the Southwest region.
You know, on the offshore side, for those guys that are interested and who like fishing the red snappers, you want to concentrate right now from Marco to New Pass Depths right now have been 145 to 170 feet of water. Sounds like a way to go, but once you get out there and get in the right areas, there are some good-sized fish being caught. Baits of choice have been squid and live sardines on 60-pound fluorocarbon while anchored up in these areas. Now, while you're anchored up in those areas, there's a variety of other fish out there starting to move in. You got the blackfins and kings, so keep a float line out with a live bait. And I've got a prime example of the fish that was just caught while fishing with Captain Mike Avanon, Don Lloyd with a nice blackfin. Now, still on the offshore side, the red groupers, a little further to the north, stump past the Sanibel. Quality fish being caught in depths of 75 to 95 feet of water, anchoring up on hard bottom, using a variety of cut baits like squid, herring, and sardines. Look for the groups of fish on your bottom finder. It shouldn't take long as you got some good move of water. If you're catching a lot of small ones, my best advice for you is keep moving from 75, working your way up to 95. And don't forget, people in the region and not, Naples Take a Soldier Fishing, September 16th. There'll be a nice weigh-in, plenty of military and captains. Get on down to Hamilton Harbor somewhere between the hours of 1 and 4 and come support your troops.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the southwest region. Tarpon in the Everglades backcountry, Onion Key to Cross Bay, strictly fishing the feeder creeks that lead into US 41, and then mangrove snappers on the wrecks and artificial reefs in Collier County area. You want to chum with small cut baits, Bree, in order to catch those mangoes.
Okay, in the East region, we have Captain Ed Zayak filling in for Mike Holiday, where the Snook are fired up on the beaches. Welcome back to the show, Ed.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, Snook are everywhere right now. And we're just about a week away from Snook season, and we're already starting to see the first hint of the fall mullet run. That means the Snook are going to be following that bait inshore on the next move. The Lake Worth and Juneau Beach Piers, Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, and the beach south of Fort Pierce Inlet are just crawling with fish right now, and just about all the inlets in our region. Some of the best action is going on at night around the bridges close to the inlets, like the A1A Bridge in Jupiter and North Bridge in Fort Pierce. So dawn or dusk, you can throw topwater plugs along the seawalls or shorelines, or on the beach, work a shad-type soft plastic parallel to the shore right down the trough. On the bridges at night, you want to be throwing a topwater plug or swim baits. Basically anything looking like a 6 to 8 inch mullet will get the bite. Once that sun gets up, those fish are in the same places. We just fish them with live mullet, threadfin, pilchard, or croakers. Right now, the average Snook is about 6 to 16 pounds.
All right, tell me about the photo here, Ed.
Yeah, that's Costa Apparel manager Steve Wolf. Now that's his largest Snook. Caught it on a threadfin.
That's a nice big fish. All right, let's talk about some tarpon. Have you got them?
We got them. And when the mullets show up, it's like you flick a switch. The tarpon are there. There's fish in the mullet schools along the beach from Vero south to Stewart, and also pretty much all the inlet areas throughout the region. The best fishing is early in the day when there's not a lot of boat traffic, and then right at dusk. You know, some of the best bites in the afternoon. The mullet tend to push into the inlets, and after dark, places like Fort Pierce Inlet and the Crossroads, there in Stewart, right off of Sewell's Point, will have tarpon blowing up on just about any mullet school in the area. Around the mullet schools, your best bet really is just match the hatch. We like to drift live mullet on 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, 6/0 circle hook, put them out behind the boat. There's also some smaller tarpon inshore around the mouth of Big Mud, Little Mud creeks in the Indian River, live bait or small jigs. Average tarpon outside is about 50 to 100 pounds, inside 20 to 60 pounds.
All right, let's go offshore, Bub.
Well, dolphin action finally picked up last week, particularly off of Palm Beach County. There were some huge weed lines, 400 to 1,000 feet of water or more. There's almost too much weed out there at times, but if you cover a lot of water, you'll find the schoolie as well as some bigger fish. The dolphin bite is also deep off of Martin, St. Lucie counties. Starts about 200 feet of water and goes out. This time of year, when you're trying to cover a lot of water, we pull rig ballyhoo, swimming mullet, feather tip combos. You can cast net a live well full of mullet and have them ready to pitch if you see a school of fish or find some cruising fish. The average dolphin right now, 8 to 15 pounds. There are a few 30-pound fish being caught.
What else you got for me offshore there, dude?
Sailfish. It continues to be an outstanding summer on the sailfish. It's still going on, which is much later than past years. This week, the magic depth seemed to be somewhere between 90 to 130 feet off of Hope Sound all the way to St. Lucie Power Plant. There's also a fair number of sailfish working around the bait schools, around the wrecks that are just inside the 6 Mile reef. The boats that are catching the most fish right now are slow trolling or drifting live threadfins, Spanish sardines, getting at least one bait deep with a sinker or downrigger. There's not a lot of fish cruising the surface like there was last month, but they're still in small pods of 2 to 6 fish. So, if you want to make several passes in an area where you hook a fish. And the average sailfish right now is 40, 50 pounds.
All right, now each week Mike reports about the bass fishing. Do you have a bass report for me this week, Ed?
Yeah, I got a little bass report. I was talking to Captain Mike Schellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com, and we know the heat's pretty bad, and it's just brutal on the lake. He said by 10:30 it's about over. So the bass are feeding like crazy right before dawn, right at dawn. You want to be on the water in the dark, working the edges of the Kissimmee grass patches off the southern end of Kings Bar and out in front of Harney Pond, and also along the outside grass lines by J&S Fishing Camp. The fish are really focused on small shad and bluegills, with fish of all sizes busting the baits about half hour before first light. So topwater plugs, frogs in the shad colors, or work a white spinner bait with gold willow leaf blade over the top of the grass and along the edges. That bite will go on to about 7:30, then it's time to work a fluke or 8-inch worm in the holes in the grass, or pitch live shiners up along the deeper holes. The average morning bass bite can be 20 to 40 fish up to 7 pounds, plenty of fish in the 2 to 4 pound range.
All right, Ed, tell us about the photo here, bub.
Yeah, Jan Posner, she was fishing with Captain Mike, and she caught that big Okeechobee bass.
All right, I got a quick question for you. So if a guy wants to catch a big snook and come fishing with you, when do you suggest he does it in the next 40 to 60 days? Nighttime or daytime?
I like daytime. That's my favorite. But just best thing to do is come right now, because they're here. I mean, they are all over our inlets, and they'll be there. And once that mullet run kicks off, all through September and into October are going to be just great time to catch a big snook.
All right, well, thank you for filling in for Mike. Guys, if you're interested in going fishing with Captain Ed, his information's right there on the screen. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the East region. He says inshore, tarpon, snook, redfish, and flounder at the South Jetty in Fort Pierce. Live mullet, pilchards, or saltwater assassin, white split-tail shads, Bree. It's important to have the split tail. And then offshore, kingfish, smoker kings on the bait school south of St. Lucie Inlet in the kingfish hole. Live mullet or thread fins with a stinger rig is gonna catch those dudes.
Can you believe Mike's never taken me fishing before?
I believe that. He told me early on that she will never fish with me.
That's fine. I don't want to fish with him either. We've got a little southeast region action going on next, and then we're seeing what kind of action Dave has for us at the
I'm gonna
workbench.
go fish with Mike Holiday. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to fish with Mike Holiday. We're going to catch snook because he's a snook killer.
Well, good for you.
He can probably teach me a lot.
I heard you haven't caught snook in a while, so good luck with that.
I need some help myself.
Okay,
So guys,
well,
you just witnessed how you strike out a supermodel.
Strike!
Don't take her
Shut
fishing.
down.
Just tell her she's not going.
Bye.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Daiquiri Deck, Sarasota's favorite place to meet. Humax, maximum saltwater protection. And Sea Sucker, get pumped.
You each drive a Ford pickup, right?
Yes, sir. I have a Ford F-150.
I've always been a Ford guy.
And I have a real treat for you today.
Awesome.
I'm going to show you a next generation pickup.
Let's do this.
This new truck now has a corner step built right into the bumper.
Super cool.
The bed is made of high strength steel, which is less susceptible to punctures than aluminum.
Aluminum is great for a lot of things, but maybe not the bed of a truck.
And best of all, this new truck is actually
Oh my.
the current Chevy Silverado.
I'm speechless. This puts my poor truck to shame.
I tell you, I might be a Chevy guy now.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's now take a look at the FWC news and notes. September 9th, we have a PS boating course in Peace River. And September 16th, there is a women's saltwater fishing clinic in Jacksonville. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now let's head to the CCA workbench for some rigs and techniques.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, Dave.
Yes, we are.
And wow,
Yeah.
that's all I can say.
Yeah,
Man, we
got a lot
some
of
Snook stuff to talk
yeah,
about.
Snook stuff. I've been in a Snook slump, but we can still talk about them.
Okay.
I don't want to share too much. Anyway, the largest Snook that's ever been caught in Florida was 44 pounds, and it was caught in Fort Myers, I think in '84 or something like that, and it was caught on a jig, on a flare hawk jig.
Nice.
Snook are one of our most popular game fish in Florida. They were made a game fish. You can't sell them commercially. They jump and they get big and they love to eat stuff and they're powerful fighters, and that's why we love to catch them.
Right.
They change from male to female. All the big fish that you catch, they've all become females. They start out as males, and as they grow older, they turn into females. The biggest female in the Atlantic was 18 years old. So they think they can get to 20 years old at least on their own. And the biggest male they've ever caught in the Atlantic was about 15 pounds.
I wish I could do that.
What's that, change?
I wish I could have been a male till I was 20, and then I became a female. I'd have all the smarts from one way. I better just stop this.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be worse off, is what you'd be for sure. Anyway, snooker ambush features. They love to hide in around rocks or inlets or walls, sea walls, a reef, and they'll hide in there and they'll reach out and get stuff as it passes by. So anything that looks like they love to eat fish, any small looking fish or shrimp or crabs. They love to eat those as well. But they eat whatever is the most around, kind of like a blue marlin. They say, what does a blue marlin eat? Well, if there's a bunch of pilchards around, he's eating those. Same way with a snook. If there's a bunch of little mullet around, he's eating mullet. If there's a bunch of shrimp around, he's eating shrimp. So if you see a bunch of mullet popping shrimp and you go through a topwater plug that looks like a fish, more than likely you're not going to get a bite out of a snook. You got to try to match what they're eating. So that's what we spend a lot of time doing. Now, you say that, and then you look at this thing. Now, we're trying to match a hatch of something, and I don't know what this looks like. It's swimming in the ocean. Now, they say that this runner here is supposed to look like the tail of a bait fish as it's running through there. And these flare hawk jigs, people use them all the time. They're really great at night under bridges.
This is for the Woodstock.
Yeah, is that what that's
Snooks.
for?
Yeah, the ones that were born during Woodstock.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
Well, all the crazy colors.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of crazy stuff going on in Woodstock.
I got you. Well, these things run from like 1 ounces to 3 ounces, and when you got a whole lot of current coming through, you want to start using the bigger jigs. And actually, when you got a lot of current and you're using those big jigs, that's when you really catch the great big snook. So that's what you want to try to do is when you're using these things. And when they say when you're fishing these in dirty water, you want to try to use chartreuse and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
100%.
and then when you get real clean water, you want to move to like a white color, you know, just a white or something,
that
white and blue.
matches.
And if you're not getting bites with the white and the blue, put the chartreuse on there. And if you're not getting a bite on the yellow heads, try an orange head. You know, some guys will go through, you know, a long time, you know, they'll bring 15, 20 jigs and they'll keep changing them out until they find one that starts to work. And then they start popping them with that and they keep using it. But, all right.
Or
now,
maybe you should throw something that looks, instead of a jig, maybe we should throw something that looks like what they might be eating.
Snook like to eat topwater plugs, and if you're in a place where they're eating a lot of finger mullets, like every one of these fellas is talking about, hey, when the mullet's coming through, that's when we start catching them good. If you're using something that looks like a mullet, a pilchard, any little fish-looking thing, that's what they're after. If they're feeding aggressively, and I tell you what, probably your best bet of all is to catch a little grunt, and use it on the bottom during July, August, September in the inlets, because that's when the reason that we close the snooks off during the summertime is because they congregate in those inlets to spawn.
Right.
And if we're in there, you know, jacking, because they get a ton of them in there, and you can just sit there and jack them and jack them and jack them.
And then the sharks move in and jack them, and then the porpoise moves in and jacks them, and guess what? Our snook numbers.
Exactly. So we try to keep them, you know, safe when they're all piled together in those inlets during the summertime. And once the summer ends and they start to move around off the beach, then we open up the seasons again. And, you know.
All right, so let's take 1 second. I'm going to play your mind here.
Oh, boy.
All right, so, you know, what size leader do we need to have, and what size rod should we have as a generic train of thought?
Most bass stuff will work unless you're catching great big snook, you know, under a bridge. You know, if you're fishing in a place where you know you're going to get 20, 30-pound snook, you know, a lot of guys will use a Penn Senator with 110 mono on it and locked up, you know. He drops a live bait to the bottom and he's hooked up to a 40-pound fish and it's 10 feet away, you know, so he's got to have all the wood. But if you're on a flats, you know, you're catching snook.
This Akuma medium, this is the heavy action.
Yeah.
I loaded it with 40 pounds.
That would be fine for
832.
That would be fine for an inlet. You could fish with an inlet with that, and with 50-pound, you know,
and the other thing, it's going to throw
leader.
one of those big jigs or one of these big lures
you
too.
Can still
it's not
going
to be overpowering.
Yeah, I get a lot of grief. I fish in Sebastian Inlet a lot, and I fish with a friend of mine who uses a bunch of big stuff, and I use a lot of little stuff, and he rides me like a pony because he thinks I'm not going to catch any. And I haven't yet.
Well, Dave, you know, you got to use what God gave you. So if you're using little stuff, it is what it is.
I understand.
All right, Bree, you want to go with this now?
On that note, sure. Let me just take it from you guys. The glass ghost is my personal favorite.
Bad man.
Oh my gosh. If you're in the Casa Vieja Southeast region, you know the snook bite is one of the best. So it only makes sense you have the best captain, and Jimbo Thomas is on it. Hey, Jimbo.
Yes, I am not a snook expert by any means, but I like to fish for them. But yeah, snook are one of the most popular inshore species in the southeast region. They can be found in just about any body of water, and there's probably about as many caught from the shore as by boat. Now, all of the lip ridges and docks of the intercoastal waterways, those are great places to look for snook, as well as any of the inlets, creeks, mangrove shorelines off the beaches, and in a lot of the freshwater lakes and canals. Now, popular baits are live shrimp, live mullet, pinfish, pilchards, croakers, bucktails, soft plastics, swimming plugs, and jerk baits. So pretty much they eat anything, at times that is. And the basic snook tackle is medium to heavy spin or plug casting outfit with 12 to 30-pound braid or mono and a 30 to 50-pound fluorocarbon or monofilament leader. And when using live baits, a circle hook is recommended since a lot of these fish are going to be released. Now, lately, all the inlets have been snook fishing hotspots. When fishing live baits on a Jupiter rig or bouncing jigs along the bottom, mostly in the evenings on any tide, just as long as that water is moving. And then in the north end of the region, from Boca to Lake Worth Inlet, snook have been being found first thing in the morning as they cruise those deeper troughs off the beach. And those troughs will run parallel to the beach, anywhere from about 15 to 30 feet off. And those can be sight fished with both artificial and live baits. And I got a photo here. This is my buddy Kwanzaa Henderson, whom I believe is in the audience tonight.
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, well, this is a beautiful snook that Kwanzaa caught off of his kayak on New Year's Day.
Good job,
So that's a nice
Kwanzaa.
catch there.
All right, so let's go
All right.
offshore.
Well, we're staying
No, yeah,
inshore
mangrove
still.
snappers, I forgot inshore for you.
Yeah, I didn't forget. Our other inshore species is mangrove snapper, which have been biting throughout the region. You want to look for these mangroves around any bottom structures in the bays, inlets, and intercoastal waterway. The channel edges around the bridges, dredge holes, and wrecks, those are all going to be good spots that are going to be holding these mangroves. And the best fishing is going to be in the evenings using cut sardines, ballyhoo, and bonita, or small live pilchards, herrings, and pinfish. And I would not recommend chumming since that usually attracts a lot of small fish that are bait stealers. And you want to fish the bait on the bottom with a knocker rig on the outskirts of that structure. And these mangroves have been anywhere from 1 to 4 pounds. Now moving offshore, dolphin you got it. The dolphin fishing has been really good or just so-so, depending on whom you speak to and how lucky those guys got. The fish have been anywhere from 5 to 15 miles offshore, and the fish have been mostly around floating debris. And there's also been a few caught off scattered weed lines. There's not been much in the way of bird activity, but that could change at any time. The fish have been eating rig ballyhoo and small feathers or lures trolled at 5 to 6 knots. And then we've been using cut bonita or small live baits once we find the fish. Now, a lot of the dolphin on the floaters have been on the small side, but then you'll hit a school and they're all nice size fish. So you just got to get lucky. So you got to weed through them to find the keepers. But the few fish that we found on the weed lines, they've been a little bigger with fish up to 20 pounds. And you never know when a bigger one's going to show up, so keep a pitch rod ready. And on Wednesday, we found a couple of decent floaters. We had 35 dolphin up to 12 pounds.
Nice.
Now, staying offshore, we're going to go with kingfish, which have been fairly consistent throughout the region, but the best bite has been in the north end from Hillsborough Inlet to Lake Worth Inlet. Live pilchards and herrings are getting some bites, but trolling has definitely been out fishing those live baits. On the troll, the kings have been biting 3.5 drone spoons or a pink sea witch and a bonita strip combo. And you want to fish that behind a number 2 planer or a wireline outfit. You want to troll at 4 to 6 knots and anywhere from 90 to 140 feet of water. And the average sizes of these kings has been 8 to 12 pounds. But just like those dolphin, you never know when you're going to troll your bait over a bigger one's head.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the southeast hotspots from the Casa Vieja region. Inshore, snook, drift any of the inlets in the evening with live baits to catch them. And then offshore, dolphin, look under anything floating around the weed lines anywhere from 5 to 12 miles offshore.
And you might get a bite if you're lucky. They're biting, is what they say. Jimbo's such an
He
upper
takes you
and
up
then
and then down, then up and
real
then down.
quick.
I love it.
At least he's honest. Okay, guys, we're talking CCA, and to celebrate the last weeks of Star, they are giving away a cooler to one lucky registered angler. To enter, go to the CCA Florida Star Facebook page, tag a friend in the comments below the cooler giveaway post, then like and share the post, but you've got to be registered for Star. There's only 2 weeks left, 15 divisions, and over $300,000 in prizes. But remember, it only takes one catch or one bucket of trash to win other great prizes like boats and scholarships. So get registered today at ccafloridastar.com. What do you think?
I think everybody should be registered.
Amen to that. Well, if y'all plan on fishing the Central West region or the Keys this coming weekend, stay hooked because we have those reports and more coming up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Reports.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Best parts, best prices, Bennett Auto Supply. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
You each drive a Ford pickup, right?
Yes, sir. I have a Ford F-150.
I've always been a Ford guy.
I have a real treat for you today.
Awesome.
I'm going to show you a next generation pickup.
Let's do this.
This new truck now has a corner step built right into the bumper.
Super cool.
The bed is made of high-strength steel, which is less susceptible to punctures than aluminum.
Aluminum is great for a lot of things, but maybe not the bed of a truck.
And best of all, this new truck is actually
Oh, my.
the current Chevy Silverado.
I'm speechless. This puts my poor truck to shame.
I tell you, I might be a Chevy guy now.
Yeah.
Remember, for weekly reports from our 9 captains, you can go to our website at ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow on Instagram at Official Insider. Whoa, and Captain Rick Murphy.
See, if you would put that microphone inside your pocket
I don't know
instead
what you were
of,
talking about.
it wouldn't have just fallen out into the boat. Thank goodness the boat was there.
Didn't
That was the big
fall.
thunk you guys heard
It
on
wasn't. It wasn't
TV.
a fall. It's fine. Anyway, we're live. Okay, the Startron Central West region is definitely another Snook hotspot, and Captain Page has got the hotspot goods. Show us how you roll, Jeff.
Yes, it is. And in the Startron Central West region, you know what? That snook has pretty much became our mainstay inshore species year-round. You know, we catch them in the heat of the summer, and we catch them in the cold of the winter. And the key, Rick, is understanding where they move to and the best baits to use during that time of year. Right now, being the heat of the summer, most of our quality fish are going to be out along the beaches and in the passes, with some around your deeper grass flat oyster bar areas, such as Long Bar, Rattlesnake Key, Emerson Point, and the bars outside of Bull and Turtle Bay in Charlotte Harbor. Live, free-line pilchards, pinfish, and grunts are your live bait of choice this time of year during the day. And at night, a lot of the guys are using live ladyfish and silver mullet in areas like the Venice Jetty, Gasparilla Pass, and Stump Pass. In the wintertime, we find our snooks in the back estuaries and bays and creeks and rivers like the Mayaca River, Peace River, and the Manatee River. And in the wintertime, a lot of guys will throw lipped plugs like Rapala X-Raps or even Saltwater Assassin, Golden Brim 5-inch jerk baits rigged on a heavier 1/4 or 3/8 ounce jig head to get them down on the bottom. And then in the springtime, we like to throw topwater plugs for snook, and we find those snook in the mullet schools and the bait schools up around those same flats I mentioned earlier, but they're going to be way up shallower, Rick, sometimes in a foot and a half of water because the water's a lot cooler. Some of the topwater plugs we'll throw are the Zara Spook or the Chartreuse and Bone Skitterwalk. I've got 2 photos tonight. The first one is probably a picture of the biggest snook that I've ever caught in the Startron region on artificial. I got that snook on a new live target scaled sardine swim bait.
That's a nice
Congrats,
fish
Jeff.
there,
And then the second photo is of 3 youngsters that fished on Team Hops and Pest Control in the Sarasota Slam Tournament. That's Jack Jr., Mason, and I don't have the other kid's name. Moving on to species 2, redfish. Like I've said for the past couple weeks, that redfish bite continues to improve, and that's good news for you and I because we have a tournament coming up. More and more schools of fish are starting to push in the bay around South Tampa Bay from Bishop's Harbor, south to Rattlesnake Key. A few groups of fish are starting to show up mixed in with jacks and bluefish, so don't be discouraged if you see fish blowing up and you throw a plug in them and you get a jack or a bluefish, because a lot of times there's redfish with them and they're in there eating that hatch bait. Down south around Gasparilla Sound, same scenario. Look for the fish. A lot of the schools down there, I've heard, are mostly 30-inch plus size fish over slot. But for the most part, live pinfish under a cork or a 1/4 ounce gold spoon has been a really good bait to throw, along with the new Saltwater Assassin salty snack in the Golden Brim pattern,
rigged on a quarter or a quarter-ounce chartreuse jig head. And my first redfish photo is of the father of that team, Paul Hobson of Team Hobson Pest Control, with his big red, and he ended up second place with that to our friend T.J. Stewart.
All right.
Anyway, moving offshore.
Uh-huh.
Species 1, red snapper. As you know, you're going to be doing a show out down here pretty soon, and the red snapper bite remains strong. We have 2 more weekends open to the recreational anglers. Guys have been getting out in that 120 to 140 foot range, setting up over hard bottom, ledges, and springs, and coming back with their limit, no problem, using live pinfish, and they're also getting some groupers while they're out there. Speaking of groupers, my second species, gag grouper. Gag grouper bite's been really good in the same depth of water as the red snapper, and also guys are trolling lip plugs like the Rapala 20 and 30X wraps in the ICW ship channel from Port Manatee all the way out to Egmont Pass. Captain Eric Wright reports in Venice quality gags in 80 to 100 feet of water using frozen sardines and live pinfish. And my last photo tonight is of a happy client of Captain Eric White's of Legacy Charters out of the crow's nest with a stud gag grouper.
Man, Paige, if I go with him and do this sports and adventures and I catch a grouper that big, you are going to see a different Rick Murphy.
I can't wait to see it, and don't forget, everybody, get you a Chevy truck.
All right, bud, thank you so much. Great report from the StarTron Central West region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri decks. Hotspots inshore. Pompano, he didn't even mention them in his report, but that's cool. Hitting the Euro pink and white 3/8 South flats jig on the incoming tide in Big Pass, as well as the sandbars outside of Gasparilla Pass. And then offshore, red snappers. With 2 more recreational weekends open, the red snapper bite remains hot in 100 feet of water and out. Live pinfish over hard bottom and ledges is going to be your best bet. You know, Paige, like, he builds you up and then not even mention it in his hotspot.
Unlike Jimbo, who just takes you down with him.
Yeah, whoop, and bang.
Down to the bottom. Okay, the Keys are known for just about everything that's good in this world. So Captain Randy Tao, tell us what's going to make our world go round this weekend, please.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, snook fishing around the Keys this time of year, it happens mostly in the backcountry. And you can be along shorelines, you can be around mangrove islands, some of the cuts that go in from the west coast. But plenty of snook around, but it's really timing. You know, the one secret in the backcountry is timing, being at that right place at the right time. And it makes a big difference whether it's an incoming tide, outgoing tide. And all of these different things will enhance your day, or it'll make it pretty poor. Now, right now we've got some mullet migrating down the coastline, some finger mullet, so that's always a great bait to get. You're going to want to cast net those and use them for bait. I like fishing them under a jig head with 3/8 or a ½ ounce. Works really well for me in a 40-pound leader, and that seems to work pretty well. Sometimes if you hook a real big one, you'll lose him on, he'll chew through the leader, but oftentimes it's plenty to get the job done. I was talking to Captain Brian Gawilliams with Serenity Charters out of Isla Morada. He knows the backcountry better than anybody catching big snook. And I've got a picture of Betsy Bullard and her friend Kelly Trotta with some big snook they caught fishing with Brian.
Yeah, that's a nice fish, man. I'll have to go check that E-perb I got in Brian's boat, and we'll find out where he had that spot. I'll make sure I call you on that, okay, Bub?
I'll bet you probably know exactly where that is.
Inshore.
You know, the tarpon fishing this time of year, we don't have them migrating on the coast on the Atlantic side, but we do have them in the backcountry, and they come out of the Gulf this time of year. Now, again, timing is critical, whether it's in the morning or it's in the late afternoon, but there's been some tarpon back there, and I've talked to quite a few guys that have been catching them, mostly on bait. Live mullet, dead or alive, and also pinfish under a cork is a great way to catch them. And usually if you get on the water early, you're going to find these fish up on top rolling, and you're going to have a pretty good shot of locating where these fish are. Now, a lot of times you might only see a couple, and don't mistake that, because there could be a lot more fish there than you realize. And I've got a picture of Dr. Julio Robola from Miami with one of his big tarpon.
Boy, that's a nice fish, Randy. Good job. The doc can really catch them at times. All right, let's go offshore.
we're still talking about dolphin, and the dolphin fishing is consistently good every day. And right now, about 400 feet of water, you can start looking. And don't be fooled for that beautiful weed line in 300, and because there's quite a few of them. As you go out, it only gets better. So I would say get out to at least 400 feet, maybe even 600 feet, and those weed lines are holding some more bait, and they're in a little bit better current than the ones in shallow. Now, I've had 2 or 3 reports from guys that said they were on the weeds catching bait with their sabiki, and the dolphins swam up to their boat, and they caught their dolphin, they caught their bait, a one-shot deal. And that happens a lot this time of year because the dolphin are cruising down the weed line. You happen to be there, they jump you. So you really want to pay attention when you're catching your bait, or look for those birds dipping along that weed line, and they're probably on top of a school of dolphin swimming along. I've got a picture of Jessica with a nice dolphin day she had with me.
Nice. Those are some good fish, bub. I like that. We got to go do that sometime. All right. What else you got for me?
Mutton snappers. It's a go-to fish for us. And this time of year, I love getting out in 120 to 200 feet, drifting around. And I like to use braided line with enough lead to get to the bottom. And if you have conditions that will allow you to cover ground, you can find these fish in different areas. They're not going to be on one particular spot. They might be spread out a little bit over an area. And I like to just keep drifting through it. Live pilchards or ballyhoo are great. A dead, deboned ballyhoo works very well, too. And I like to fish a long leader, about 40 feet of about 30 or 40-pound test, and get that lead plenty far away from the bait, and you're going to have a lot more success. There's a few muttons on the yellowtail spots in closer, but a lot of times you'll catch one, and there's not very many of them. You're going to have a lot better chance of catching multiple fish out in the deep water, like this picture I have of Scott Reed with his big mutton.
Well, I got to tell you guys, any of you guys watching that want to go to the Florida Keys and catch a snapper, I'm giving Randy Town my personal endorsement. Dave and I were down there shooting a Sportsman's Adventure episode, and we wrecked the yellowtails. And then he just, for kicks, took us to catch
funsies.
6 muttons like it was just on cue.
No big deal?
No big deal.
No big deal.
Thank you so
Just
much for
another
those days, Randy. We really enjoyed being with you. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys region. Inshore Snook. Fish the shorelines and the points on the incoming tide. Look for finger mullets coming down the beach and use them for bait. And then offshore, dolphin. Look for those weed lines. Birds from 400 feet and on out. Fish early morning or late in the day.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. All right, there's always tournaments going on in the Florida Keys, so let's see what's coming up.
All right.
More than 40 species of fish are targeted during the Key West Fishing Tournament, continuing through November 30th. There's no entry fee, and participants receive citations and qualify for a variety of prizes. The Robert James Slam Celebrity Tournament is set for September 8th through the 10th in Key West. In the first of 3 tournaments in the annual Redbone Celebrity Tournament series, anglers target tarpon, permit, and bonefish to achieve the coveted Flats Grand Slam. Redbone events raise funds for cystic fibrosis treatment and research. Set for September 15th through the 17th, the Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Fishing Championship is named after the man known as Mr. Everglades. Anglers are to target multiple species only in the boundaries of Everglades National Park. The Marathon International Bonefish Tournament is scheduled September 15th through the 17th and is the longest running tournament in the Keys. This tournament recognizes individual and team champions scoring releases of the largest bonefish and permit and top anglers in fly and Grand Slam divisions. Now let's check in with Andy Newman and see what featured tournament he has for y'all this week.
Well, hi guys. The Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge in Key Largo offers anglers opportunities to win coveted trophies for trout, snook, and redfish. This year's tournament is September 22nd to the 24th. Proceeds help fund scholarships for Upper Key students. The tournament is staged by the Key Largo Rotary. For more details, go to keylargorotary.org. And for more information on all tournaments in the Florida Keys, it's always flakeys.com.
Well, we're having way too much fun here on set, so we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, the Central East region is on deck. Wow. And then Dave Farrell is going to show you some new products that could be on your deck.
I'm trying to figure out what this one does. If it,
It's a ship.
No,
Were you trying to?
I thought it was maybe a chum thing. You know, you
Lacrosse?
could put a couple baits in there and chum it, but that's not what it is. It actually stabbed myself in the belly with it doing that a second ago.
You're not
good.
safe
So
with
smart. We're
anything
smart here on
sharp.
set.
No, it's very
Nope.
sharp too.
Very sharp. Okay,
Got
we'll
my
be back.
fat.
Dave might still
It
be
hurts my
alive.
fat.
We're not sure. We'll find out.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Soft Science, supreme comfort footwear. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Real legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore four-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 four-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Hey, how do you like your contender? How do I like my contender? What's not to like? Dude, I just saw a contender, and man, I gotta give me one.
The CCA workbench.
Yes.
And I want to know what
it looks
H
empty.
happened.
It looks empty, but there's plenty. It's just small.
A minute ago, you couldn't see wood when we were doing the rigs and techniques, and now?
You know, a clean boat is a happy boat. I like to clean, you know, I'm very cleanliness. What I can't speak. Yeah,
I see
let's
that.
go.
With
Let's
your
go ahead.
Haircut and your shave.
Yes, it's
Okay,
very nice.
so what do you got?
Let's stop
We're
talking
gonna-
about me.
we're gonna start with the
Pins
Irish
minnow.
lure of,
Exactly. This is a Yozuri Pins
short one.
Pins minnow. It's a sinking minnow. Now
It
they've been making the floating one for a long time. This is the sinking one. That's a little guy. It's 2 3/4 inches, 3/16 ounce. I like it because you know silver sides and glass minnows. You know you're standing around on the shore. You always see stuff coming and crashing those little things. And I'm not opposed to throwing something small.
Right.
You know, because a lot of big things will eat small stuff. That comes in like 21 different colors. You know, it's got the weight transfer just like the big ones do. Stainless steel split rings. You know, really good fine stuff. Yozuri always makes really good stuff, and they even small like that, it's really good stuff.
Got
you can
nice
feel the quality.
steel hooks, you know.
Correct. VMs. Yeah. Anyway, then we got this H2O Express coastals. These are called the bait brigades, and a lot of bait companies these days are making these combo stuff. Lunker Hunt's been doing a link one, and Live Target does bait balls and stuff, but this is the new kind of thing that a lot of bait companies are doing, and this is the H2O Coastal Express Bait Brigade.
And they can only be found at Academy, right?
This is Academy. This is Academy brand. Yeah, they have VMC. You got the glass minnow there, this one here, and then we got the natural mullet. They got a little lip on them. They'll dive down 3 to 5 feet depending on how fast you're cranking them. They got the 6/0 VMC treble hooks on there, 5-inch. They float. They got rattles inside. You know, if anything will eat a plug, they'll eat that one.
Now, do these come? You know, this is pretty close to the color that it's going to be, but does it come in a variety of different colors?
Yes, it does. They come in like 4, I think. They got 4 different ones.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
they
what
gotta
else?
go to Academy, go academy.com to pick those up. Because it's
Absolutely.
all their stuff. Now, these are really cool too. These are called the Lunker Hut fillets. This one actually looks a lot like a little peacock bass or a cichlid, so I can't wait to use.
It's so heavy.
That's a heavier one, yeah. They make 2 different styles, 3/8 ounce or the 1 ounce, and that other one's the 1 ounce one. They come in 8 different colors. They have that nose down design for a lipless plug. You can see they've got really nice big hooks on there, so if you hook something big, you should be able to catch it. Good for just about every species, again, that'll eat a crankbait. Very loud rattle chamber, as you can tell, and that's the crawl pattern, actually.
Right.
They call that a crawl pattern, but it really looks to me like a baby peacock bass or a cichlid. So,
Right.
We were talking earlier about snook, and a snook would eat just about any of these lures, but he really probably like this one. This is a new plug from Bomber, and it's called the Super Pogie, and it's a lipless rattle bait. You know, it mimics the vibration, you know, that a panic prey would make or something. They come in 2 different ones. They got a high pitch and a low pitch. They say that the high pitch one is good for stained water and windy days, and the lower one is good for clear water when it's calmer or whatever. That one's 3.5 inches long and weighs about 1 1/4 ounce. It's a hefty bait. You know, you can throw that thing a long way, and it's got double strength treble hooks on it, so hopefully you won't be pulling them off.
Now, I would like to make a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
What I really enjoyed about tonight is, even though we have rigs and techniques, your new products seem to go real well with our theme.
Yeah, sometimes I get lucky that way.
Well, you did well. But, you know, Dave, I want to ask you something. A big mistake that I think a lot of people make when they're fishing lures is when you touched on it in the rigs and techniques, and I want to go back to it. When you go to change colors, just like sizes, don't you agree that if you have on something that matches the hatch and you decide you want to make a change, you got to go 180 degrees the other way. So if a natural color versus like something bright.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the fly world, early in the morning we talk about darker the sky, the darker the fly.
Right.
So you match it that way. Do you believe in doing the same thing here?
Well,
Right.
I always try to, I'm always looking around wherever I'm fishing. If I try to look around and see what's happening. And if they're eating little tiny stuff, that's what I want to throw. And that's it. I'm matching whatever the hatch is. And I'm not really worried about the color as I am more worried about the size. I want the thing to be about the approximate size of the
whatever
bait that they're eating. And I think if you go there, you're probably going to be okay.
All right, so I see you got something for our shore fishermen.
Yeah, this is a CCA sand spike. It comes. You go to Academy and get one of these. This is the old that CCA's work, and this is the 44-inch rod holder. You know, it's a good spike. It'll go down in the ground. It's long enough so that you get it down in the ground. When you have a long spinning rod with a long handle, it's still long enough that you can put it in this holder without bouncing it on the ground. Yeah. So pick that up right there.
Now, what do we got this week
go to
from
Academy,
Bennett, buddy?
Well, this is Bennett Auto Supply. We do a little thing for them every one, and this is the new stay bill. We got a fuel stabilizer there and a storage. This 360 marine stabilizer, it'll actually keep gas for 24 months. The storage will keep it 24 months. The stay bill will do for 12 months. So, you know, either one of them will work. This thing treats 80 gallons of gas. This one treats 20. If you're putting your boat away or just want to keep it running good, you know, go and get stay bill at Bennett Auto Supply.
And you know, you have to have some type of fuel treatment
for
with
ethanol.
You gotta
have to have it, and I use it constantly and everything.
Pretty work over here.
Hey, no worries.
All right, speaking of pretty work, there she is over at the Pathfinder. Come on, get back to work.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was
Been napping over there.
Captain Jim Ross in the Bell's Central East region has the weekend bite report for you right here, right now. So, Jim, let him have it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bree, the snooker, they're a great species to target in my region. They're really starting to stack up in our inlets, and they're getting ready for the mullet run to start. The mullet are kind of up in Tommy's region right now, but we're starting to see a lot of bait fish, especially the menhaden and croakers around our inlets, pinfish as well. And, once those mullet get here, it's just going to blow wide open for snook. Now, most of the time, the guys fishing for snook are using 50-pound test Suffolk fluorocarbon leader, and they're normally using like a 30 to 50-pound test braided line. I prefer the Suffolk 832. It casts farther, it's smoother, it's really abrasion resistant. That keeps you from getting cut off on a lot of those rocks and pilings. Now, other great places to fish for snook are the bridge fenders in the North and South Causeway Bridge in New Smyrna, and the fenders on the A1A bridge that goes over Sebastian Inlet are great places to catch snook throughout the year, but especially as we come into the next couple of weeks. Lip diving plugs work as well as those live baits. The new colors from Rapala, they've got a brand new X-Wrap in a mullet color, so that's going to tie right in with that mullet run. And they've also got a pinfish color that looks incredible in the water. So if you guys haven't seen one of those two, get out there and check out those artificials. If you like to throw artificials, those things are going to catch snook for you. Most of our snook right now are running 28 to 44 inches. And I've got a picture here. I got Mikey and Dan Giordano from Orlando with a nice snook that they caught on a live pogie over at Canaveral this past week. Now, species 2 inshore is our mangrove snapper. Now, we usually talk about mangrove snapper being an offshore species, and yeah, you can still get a lot of those fish out there, especially if you're chumming like we've talked about the last couple of weeks in that 65 to 90-foot zone. But we're talking about inshore snapper right now. The fish are going to come in with these mullet and with these bait fish that are coming down the beaches, and you're going to start getting them around oyster bars. You're going to get them near these bridges. You're going to get around any kind of rocky area. Pilings, things of that nature work really well. Now, the way we fish for them is we typically use smaller baits or cut baits and put it on a split shot rigger, just enough weight to hold the bottom, and a little VMC circle hook. And the little fish will pick away at it, and then all of a sudden one of the big ones will come in there and just hammer it. So good places right now are the seawalls and bridge pilings all throughout the Ponce Inlet area and up and down the Halifax River. Also in the Indian River and Banana River, you can check out the areas around the bridge pilings like the 528 Bridge and the Pineda Causeway Bridge. And then, of course, any of those jetties that we talked about earlier at any of the inlets in my area. And most of the fish right now are running about 1 to 3 pounds. Now, swinging offshore,
yes, sir.
We got king mackerel, Rick, and of course, king mackerel is our summer staple here. Everybody gets out there, goes and catches their king mackerel. Well, right now they've moved back off the beach. They're out of that spawning mode. They've picked back up and gone out to those 80 to 120 foot depths, and they're out on those wrecks and reefs out there. Bethel Shoal, Pelican Flats, Chris Benson, the Party Grounds, East 11. All of those places are good places to slow troll live baits right now. Strip bait spoons and lip diving plugs like the Rapala CD14 or that new X-Wrap Magnum 15 are working really well first thing in the morning or if you have overcast days. And I tell you what, most of our fish right now aren't real big, 12 to 16 pounds on average. And our last species offshore is flounder. Now, if you like to catch flounder, this is the time of year you've been waiting for because they finally started showing up. My good buddy Mark Gibson up in Ponce Inlet said that he's starting to get some really good fish in the 35 to 90 foot depths. Now, flounder generally strike small baits or like finger mullet, mud minnows, that sort of thing. And you want to put them on a little jig head or a short sliding sinker rig, a short leadered sliding sinker rig. The reason is they don't come off the bottom too far most of the time to grab the bait, so you want it to be right on the bottom. The tides this week look really good for the flounder bites, and if you're a diver, hey, get your tanks, get your wetsuit, get out there this weekend because the flounders are out there for you guys and gals too. And I've got a picture of Mark and some flounder that he got while diving this past Monday for you guys and gals to go out there and show you that there's quite a few of them out there, and all of y'all can go get them this weekend.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. Great report this week. We're going to take a look at the sea sucker hotspots from the Central East region. Inshore, he says redfish in the Mosquito Lagoon use cut ladyfish in the potholes between Widgeon Bay and, what is that, Ganarina Point, I think. And then offshore, tarpon and sharks behind the shrimp boats outside of Ponce Inlet. Use freshly culled shrimp bycatch on a VMC circle hook.
Did you just learn to read, Rick?
I have never learned to read.
Who do we have here?
I'm learning with these guys.
They can read better than you can.
How are
Can you
you
read
guys?
this? I am totally Jossum. Love it. Okay, up and away to the north we go, continuing with the northwest and northeast region. We'll be returning on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report with Bye.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Startron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
You each drive a Ford pickup, right?
Yes, sir. I have a Ford F-150.
I've always been a Ford guy.
I have a real treat for you today.
Awesome.
I'm going to show you a next generation pickup.
Let's do this.
This new truck now has a corner step built right into the bumper.
Super cool.
The bed is made of high-strength steel, which is less susceptible to punctures than aluminum.
Aluminum's great for a lot of things, but maybe not the bed of a truck.
And best of all, this new truck is actually
Oh, my.
the current Chevy Silverado.
I'm speechless. This puts my poor truck to shame.
I tell you, I might be a Chevy guy now.
Yeah.
Flagler Construction Equipment is your certified Takeuchi equipment dealer, servicing 55 counties in Florida. With Takeuchi, you get brute strength combined with bulletproof durability. That means low downtime and optimal production. Flagler Construction Equipment is the partner for all your Takeuchi sales, service, and rental needs, and your first and last stop for legendary customer service and support. Pros know Takeuchi. Get to know Flagler Construction Equipment by stopping by one of our 6 locations or visit us on the web at www.flaglertakeuchi.com.
In the Flagler Construction Equipment Northwest region, Captain Jeff Hageman is going to tell you just what you need to get that snook bite this weekend. Let's hear it, Jeff.
Snook can be found throughout the lower half of my region. About as far north as you're going to find them is Cedar Key in my region. So from Cedar Key south, snook are very tidal, meaning they like moving water and water flow. So they like to sit in places that have constant food supply going to be brought to them and ambush them. So when you're targeting snook, keep that in mind. Fishing points, creek mouths, river mouths, sandbars, passes, any structure that has got good water flow, like I was talking about, like piers, jetties, docks, bridges, and rock piles, will also hold snook in my region. As far as baits go, live shrimp, sardines, pinfish, grunts are the favored live baits. A lot of guys use a lot of sardines in my area. As far as artificial baits go, jigs, jerk baits, lip plugs, topwater, walk the dog type lures like skitter walks are used first thing in the morning, late in the evening, and even throughout the night. We do a lot of night snook fishing in our region. And anything in that sardine or a mullet imitation works really, really good for them. Snooks have great eyesight. They also have gill rakers, so they can slice through leaders. So a good fluorocarbon leader is a must, anywhere from 25 to 40 pounds. Little tip, I've been using circle hooks lately when I'm using live bait. And I've been using a little bit bigger circle hook than would usually use. And I can get away with a little lighter leader. So if you got a picky snook bite, you might want to try that, and you might be able to downsize your leader and still get that fish. And usually, you get a 40-inch snook, he's going to eat through 25, but if you upsize your circle hook, little tip for you, you can get away with a little lighter leader. Snook also can be enticed. We do a lot of chumming in our region, like I was talking about earlier. We use a chum bat and toss out sardines or scaled sardines or whitebait, whatever you call them, and get the fish actually going in a frenzy and getting them, popping them on top. And so also, if you throw them in a tidal situation, it'll be able to show you where those fish are down the bank or down an edge where you're fishing, And it's also a fun way to catch them. There's nothing like getting a bunch of snook fired up on baits and popping them to get your blood pumping. But I got some photos here of some great West Coast snook.
That is a nice one, man. Good job. Another nice one. Dang.
Oh, shoot.
What do we have,
Three in a
like
row?
snookathon going on in Hag's Reaching? All right, Hag, tell me what, I see that we got Jamie, the witch doctor, is in the report this week. Why don't you tell me what he's reporting?
He's got a redfish bite going on right now in lower Tampa Bay. Captain Jamie Goodwin of GoFloridaFishing.com is who I'm talking about. Right now, you want to fish the top of the incoming tide and beginning of the outgoing tide. Fish are in smaller schools right now and feeding on pinfish and sardine, either free lined or under a float. And right now, most of the fish are averaging anywhere from 28 to 35 inches, some nice big fish. Moving up the coast, another one of our favorite guys, Captain Mario Costello of Tall Tale Charters out of Plantation on the Crystal River, reports a good redfish bite right now. He's fishing around the mangrove shorelines from Crystal River to Homosassa. He's been targeting him in the middle of the tide where the current's the strongest. And he's using live shrimp or pinfish on a 3/0, 4/0 circle hook. Most of these fish are ranging from sizes from 24 to 30 inches. And then moving a little more further up the coast, almost the end of my region, Captain JB at JB Charters reports a good redfish right now, bite around the points and drop-offs of the creek mouth opening. He's using live pinfish and finger mullet. He's also catching some really nice flounder. I was going to do a flounder report this week with him, but I'm going to do that, I think, next week with him. He's catching some really, really nice flounder in the same areas he's catching redfish, but he's catching them on a 1/4-ounce jig head with a 3-ounce chartreuse grub. And I got a photo there of some nice West Coast redfish.
Nice. Looking good. I like seeing them children out there.
Chillins.
All right, man, let's go offshore, bub.
Offshore, Captain Hooker Harry of Hooker Harry Charters out of St. Pete reports a really good red grouper bite at 80 to 120 right now. He's fishing that flat Swiss cheese bottom. That's basically what I'm talking about. That Swiss cheese bottom is a limestone bottom with holes in it, so it doesn't really mark real good on your machine. So what you're looking for is a hard mark on your machine. And once you find that, get some baits down there, get them fired up. You can actually start seeing them coming up in the water column on your bottom machine. Cut sardines and cut squid on a knocker rig works the best. Once you get some baits down there and the scent draws them, they'll draw these fish in from long distances. Red grouper use their nose a lot, so don't be afraid to use a few extra pieces of cut sardines, toss them out there, bring some more fish into you and get more bite. Offshore, species number 2, the red snapper bite's been really good through the entire region from north to south. Catching has been no shortage in that 100 to 170 feet of water over any kind of structure, rock pile. Red snapper have been real easy to spot on the bottom machine. They'll be suspended over the water column, and the bigger fish will be on top of those smaller fish. Cut sardines, cut squid are the baits most commonly used on a 6 to 8/0 circle hook and 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, and 6 to 8 to 10 ounces of lead depending on the depth and depending on the current you've got.
All right, Hag, good report from the Flagler Construction Equipment Northwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from your region. In short, redfish. The bites on the top of the tide cut baits have been the most effective fishing around the oyster bars, and then offshore gag groupers. The bite has been good in 70 to 120 feet of water over the rock piles and ledges. Use hand-sized pinfish for bait. So, Tommy, you ever use hand-sized pinfish for anything, buddy?
Hi, Tommy.
We use hand-sized pinfish, but then we cut them into bite-sized pieces, and that's pretty much the way we use them over here. And they probably do make great offshore grouper bait, though.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I stepped on Bree. I forgot to let her introduce you,
right.
but I was
You do
just
my
so
job. It's
excited to see you. So
Strike zone, Northeast Region, Captain Tommy Derringer.
All
Okay,
right. Go ahead, bud.
Guys, we're probably not the most well-known snook fishing place here up in the Strike Zone Northeast region. But you know what? This summer we've had some really awesome snook fishing happening here in the region. Now, after a few really mild winters, the snook have been thriving this year in my region with some of the biggest snook I've seen around in a long time. The more consistent snook fishing is going to be in the south end of the region from Palm Coast down to Daytona. I've had a bunch of great reports coming in from the High Bridge and the Tomoka areas. The snook are up shallow right now, chasing the shrimp in the small creeks and the canals down there first thing in the morning. topwater and subsurface plugs are working, as well as a large free-line live shrimp. Now, the nighttime snook fishing has been great as well, from Palm Coast all the way down to Ponce Inlet. You can target the lighted docks and the bridges as long as the tide is moving, using a diving plug like a Rapala X-Rap or a live shrimp or a finger mullet. Now, there's lots of smaller snook under those lights, but there are some bruisers in there as well, especially around some of the bigger bridges. There's also a good snook population going on right now in Jacksonville and St. Augustine. There's some key creeks like Pablo Creek, San Sebastian, and Pellicer Creek. They're all holding some snook, but there are also, quite a few lakes that hold those snook as well. Now, Google Earth, that can be your friend here. You can look for those lakes that are going to be connected to some kind of saltwater via maybe a culvert or a small creek or a canal. Now, some lakes with easy public access hold some really, really big snook. There's also been quite a few nice snook caught recently at the St. Augustine and Matanzas inlets. Look for some of those bigger snook to show up there at those inlets during the mullet run early this fall, or even maybe towards the end of this month. Now, I've got a picture here. This is Maria Lupe Lopez with a big snook that she caught down in the Tomoka Basin area on a Rapala skitter walk.
Nice picture,
now, also
Tommy, as
inshore,
always.
Inshore guys, the flounder bite has been good this week, with good numbers of fish being caught closer to the inlets where you can find some nice clean water. The docks and the creeks close to downtown St. Augustine, they're holding some nice flatties right now on both the high and the low tide stage. Mud minnows, they've been a little hard to come by at the bait shops, but a little finger mullet's definitely going to do the trick. The tide's been ripping with that new moon, so you're going to want to use enough weight to get your bait to the bottom. That's really important. A 3/8 ounce jig head's been working well, but if you're fishing a little deeper, you might have to go to a fish finder rig with an ounce or even a little bit more, and that might be the ticket to help it stay on the bottom. Now, most of the flounder are running about 1 to maybe up to about 3 pounds, with a few bigger ones mixed in. And I've got another picture here. Captain Trey Jones from Got 'Em On Charters sent me this picture of Jacksonville Jaguars cheerleader Amy Kennelly with a nice pair of flounder that she caught near Blunt Island this week. And she even has the Flounder Pounder t-shirt on. So you know she was serious about it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So moving offshore.
Let's go offshore.
Tommy, move on quickly.
We're definitely in the dog days of summer on the offshore side of things, but there is a decent mixed bag of vermilion, yellowtail, and mutton snappers happening right now in about 120 foot plus on the larger reefs, wrecks, and ledges out of St. Augustine. Live sardines have been the key and the go-to bait out there, and you're going to find some nice triggers and some porgies in the same areas. Just a pretty good mixed bag going on. Also offshore, the kingfish. We have a pretty decent kingfish bite happening throughout the region. The near shore stuff like 4 mile and 9 mile reefs in St. Augustine have been holding good numbers of small to medium sized kingfish. Slow trolling live pogies either up top or on the downrig has been working well. There's also been a few bigger fish caught closer to the beach down towards Flagler Beach where the pogies have been really thick. Just find those big bait pods and slow troll in those areas. That's where you're going to find those bigger kings. I got one last picture here. This is my man Cullen Sloan with one of those schoolie kingfish he caught with me recently at 4 Mile Reef out of St. Augustine. Slow trolling a live pogie.
Tommy, I don't think I'm going to forget about the Flounder Pounder t-shirt. You think you'd get Bree one of those?
Nope. It's okay.
I think I can.
Amy's got that under control. I'm good. Rick can't handle it. He can't handle it. Thanks, John.
I think I'm going to come out with some kind of cool snapper shirt. What do you think?
There you go.
All right.
Wonderful.
There we go.
Okay, bye, Tommy.
See you later, man. We're going to go ahead and read this
Yes.
strike zone. Northeast hotspots is totally out of control here in the studio. Inshore, flounder near all the area inlets. Look for the cleaner water around the docks. Use finger mullet on a jig head or a fish finder rig with enough weight to make sure you hold the bottom. And then offshore, mixed bag of snappers, triggerfish, amberjacks, and porgies on the reef and wrecks in 120 foot and out of St. Augustine.
You okay? Speechless. That's a first. Coming up next, we're going to the very top of the state and checking in with our Panhandle captain. So sit tight, get your rigging on, and we'll be right back.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Flagler Construction Equipment, your exclusive Takeuchi dealer. And Okuma, inspired fishing.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
You each drive a Ford pickup, right?
Yes, sir. I have a Ford F-150.
I've always been a Ford guy.
I have a real treat for you today.
Awesome.
I'm going to show you a next generation pickup.
Let's do this.
This new truck now has a corner step built right into the bumper.
Super cool.
The bed is made of high-strength steel, which is less susceptible to punctures than aluminum.
Aluminum is great for a lot of things, but maybe not the bed of a truck.
And best of all, this new truck is actually
Oh, my.
the current Chevy Silverado.
I'm speechless. This puts my poor truck to shame.
I tell you, I might be a Chevy guy now.
Yeah.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about launching and loading your boat. Now, Power Pole shallow water anchors are great out on the water, but they're very handy for launching and loading your boat, especially if you're fishing on your own. For launching, back your boat into the water, launch the boat, then pull it around and put the power poles down. While you go, park your truck. It's really that simple, guys. For loading your boat, pull your boat up to the shore, power pole down, get into the truck into position, and then come back, get in the boat, and load it up. This is especially handy for launches that don't have a dock. But if it does, you can use the same process, just pull up to the dock instead of the shore. Our next Power Pole tip is going to be about the drift paddles. That's today's Power Pole tip. So you know, Bree, since the power poles, I don't even tie the boat up anymore.
I know.
Pull up there, get on the windward side of the dock, put both power poles down, go get the truck, come back.
You're so fancy.
Guess what? It's still sitting there.
You're so fancy. Oh my goodness.
It's always perfect until I forget to put them up as I put it on the trailer and then...
Well, that happens when you get older. Snook may not be on the list in the Getty Panhandle region, but Captain Pat Deneen is here to tell you so much more that is. Go for it, Pat.
Yeah, Bree, the snook really aren't caught up here, although there was one caught this summer in Choctawhatchee Bay, but it's not enough to talk about. But there are some redfish around right now, plenty of them, it seems. The backwaters have the slot fish in them. The passes have the bull redfish. We've got pretty high water consistently lately, and it's pushing them way back up into the marsh over in West Bay. And Captain Justin Leake's been using his bay boat as a mothership for his paddleboard and then sneaking around in those back marsh areas, catching plenty of redfish with the fly rod, using shrimp patterns, seducers, and gurgler patterns. And then the big bull redfish are starting to do their thing that they do in the fall, like when Rick came up last year or the year before last. On the fallen tide, they're biting good on live bait in the passes. Over in Pensacola and Panama City, you may want to use your bottom machine to help locate the schools of fish and dest and fish the bridge pilings and the edges of Crab Island. And the best bait is a palm-sized croaker on a slip sinker rig, but spot minnows are also a close second. The pass redfish are in that 30 to 35 plus inch range, so they're certainly they're really nice big fish. And there's a photo of a 40-inch fish we caught just this Tuesday, sight fishing right there next to Crab Island amongst all the pontoon boats. So
nice.
What they're doing cruising around there is pretty cool.
Yep.
Staying inshore, Rick, the blacktip sharks, the June grass is cleared up along the beaches, and we've had pretty calm seas that makes for good blacktip shark fishing. You're going to find them pretty much throughout the whole Panhandle, from Port St. Joe to Perdido Key. The trick is to find along the beach schools of ladyfish, bluefish, and blue runners, and where you find those guys, you're going to find the blacktips. It's great sight fishing with medium heavy spinning tackle. I like to use a circle hook, a trace of wire, a couple 2 feet of wire, and then about 3 feet above the bait, I'll attach a float. Cigar minnows, herrings, ladyfish are all great baits, with live baits generally outfishing the dead baits. And the blacktip are running up to and over 50 pounds. And then moving offshore, the tuna out at the spur, the water is as dirty as I've seen it out there, but the tuna don't seem to mind. There's plenty of bait out there, and the tunas are doing some pretty cool surface feeding. So we found them just this past Sunday, just north and a little bit east of the tip of the spur. And the calm seas certainly makes finding these fish easier by looking for the birds or looking for the surface activity. It's great for a run and gun type fishery, so the center console is perfect action. A trolled ballyhoo will catch them, but a spinning rod with a popper is a better way to go as far as an exciting bite in action. It's a mix of yellowfins and blackfins, and they're running 20 to 70 pounds. And then finally, if you find yourself out there and you're not finding the tuna bite like you want, a great backup plan is a tilefish deep dropping in 900 foot of water on the mud flats north of the spur and kind of south of the pipeline. Often the rigs will be a 5-hook chicken rig with a sash weight. One of those hooks is many times bigger than the other hooks. Put a whole bait on that one. Fishing 500, 900 foot of water, so an electric reel is certainly going to make it more effective and enjoyable. The Team Recess boys over in Pensacola, they've got it dialed in real well. They're catching some nice catches every trip. Expect a mixed bag of tilefish, snowy grouper, deep water snappers, and occasional kitty Mitchells. And there's a photo of a pretty nice tilefish that we caught Sunday north of the spur. We were drifting that mud bottom in 900 foot of water.
So, Pat Tar, I got a question for you. So, you showed us that big 40-inch redfish, and you said you caught that inside, not out off the jetty. I saw all that beautiful green water. Do you think that's going to last, or do those fish eventually move back out of the pass into the bridge? What do you think?
What they'll do is they'll come up out of the channels and cruise around on those shallow flats or crab islands and then drop back down into the channel. So it's a hit or miss. They'll be at the bridge pretty much on a fallen side, the jetty's on a fallen side, but they'll float up in singles and doubles and triples up under that shallow water, and that's what we were doing, just sitting there staked out, sight fishing them as they came cruising by.
So what are you throwing to them, a live bait, or are you throwing plugs to them?
We were throwing live cigar minnows. There's a lot of traffic there. We were using a light leader, kind of leading the fish a lot, letting the current bring the bait back to the fish. You'll see more fish than you get bites, let me put it that way.
All right, well, you can't fish with Rick Murphy every day, bub, but I'll try to do my best and get back up there. All right, we're going to take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore, mangrove snappers on live pilchards around the bay structure in 10 to 20 feet of water. And then offshore, king mackerel and possibly a blackfin tuna on natural bottom. And around the bait schools off of Destin in 80 to 100 feet of water.
Pretty sure of yourself there, bub.
Man, but we crushed them, man. We shot a Sportsman's Adventure episode with Patty. It was just boom, 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 boom in like 4 hours.
I heard you're really good at catching swordfish, too.
No.
It's okay.
If the water's over my head, usually it's the fishing.
Redfish King. Okay, the reports are in, and it's now time to get out there and play Snooki from whatever you have to. But hang in there, because when we come back, we're telling you what we're hooking up to next week. You hear that, Snooki? That was a play on the
heard.
You each drive a Ford pickup, right?
Yes, sir. I have a Ford F-150.
I've always been a Ford guy.
I have a real treat for you today.
Awesome.
I'm going to show you a next generation pickup.
Let's do this.
This new truck now has a corner step built right into the bumper.
Super cool.
The bed is made of high-strength steel, which is less susceptible to punctures than aluminum.
Aluminum is great for a lot of things, but maybe not the bed of a truck.
And best of all, this new truck is actually
Oh my.
the current Chevy Silverado.
I'm speechless. This puts my poor truck to shame.
I tell you, I might be a Chevy guy now.
Yeah.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha VMAX SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. VMAX SHO. The pack is growing.
When you're paid to put fish in the boat, you don't mess around with the thing that puts fish in the boat. Always use the best line.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes, special segments, and updated fishing reports from your region right on our homepage. Just head to ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Okay, everyone, get ready for next week because we are talking all kinds of mackerel in the house. But right now, I'm with someone super famous. You had the Snook photo up here.
Yes.
In Mike Holliday's region. So tell us your name, where you're from.
Well, I'm Mike
and your
Taylor.
Question.
My name's Mike Taylor. I'm a Geigobo solo yacker. And my question to Rick Murphy is I love giant swim baits, anything from 6 inches to 9 inches. Flare hawks by Fish Whistle. You know, I love those and as well. But what is your favorite way to catch giants? I'm not talking like 32s.
Just giants.
Just big ones.
So what is your?
It's a giant mullet. Take
Giant
a
mullet.
5-pound mullet, throw him in there. It's going to eliminate the small fish from biting it, and that's the way you're going to catch a monster fish. Thanks, Mike, for giving me a good answer there. I mean, a good question.
Good question. Good questions are always
decent
good.
answer.
He was taking up all my time, man.
It
I was about
was.
to-
That's okay. We love our audience.
my
Thank you
watch.
guys for watching. We had so much fun. Check us out next week. We'll see y'all later.